friends and loved ones forsake you, all you got to do is to be bold. I knew it years ago that those who undermined me had their minds undermined, but I never mind. They should keep on undermining because I'm a real good. I must undergo mining. Talking of mining, it leads to discovery. We mine to discover, we learn to discover, we observe to discover. Friends can uncover you at the same time discover you. But I don't want to discover you, I would rather discover more, so I go on the internet and I listen to words of wisdom and intellect. Availability of information, interviews of great men and women all over the diaspora and all nations. Creativity at its best, dexterity of research, no need to go through any formal education. I introduce you to the Discovery Show. Let your friends and your family know the struggles before the blow, their highs and their lows. Pay attention to this show, it will make you feel at ease. The Discovery Show on YouTube got the steez. Now Perry, the presenter, please pose for the camera. I want to hear you say cheese. We are airborne like a flu. I want to hear you sneeze. It's true. The Discovery Show is live on air, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. See ya. TDS TV, Yearn to Learn. Host, Perry Precious. Executive Producer, James.
Hi, thank you very much for joining us here on the Discovery Show TDS TV. Here we say Yearn to Learn. This is a show that seeks to interview professionals in the diaspora and beyond who are making significant impact in the area of healthcare, politics, religion, academia, and what have you. So basically, we seek to understand or get to know how their journeys have been, learn lessons, and also to be able to rise to the levels we want to be. My name is Precious Adadidiodu, ably produced by James Kwabena Opong. Today, we are privileged to be interviewing another gentleman who trained as a medical doctor in Ghana, and currently he's working as a general surgery resident in Brooklyn, New York, in the United States of America. I'm happy to be joined by Dr. Kofi Atta Appiafa Obeng. Doc, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Precious. And it's a privilege to be here.
Amazing. I'm happy we finally made it.
Yeah, I know. And thank you for pulling all the strings, I understand everything. And
amazing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Viewers, we are actually running this interview with you, so feel free to drop your comments, send in questions, and we are going to ask Appiafa where the need arises. And of course, we'll read that to him as well. So thank you very much. Please subscribe to our channel here on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The name is The Discovery Show TDS TV. So Kofi, please tell us a bit about yourself. Who is Dr. Kofi Atta Appiafa Obeng?
Thank you very much. I want to say good afternoon to or good evening, wherever you are listening from, to all your viewers. My name, as you stated, Kofi Atta Appiafa Obeng. An international medical graduate from Ghana. I was part of the KNUST SMS class of 2016. And after that, I worked as a house officer for 2 years in Teshman Holy Family Hospital. Then I moved to Mankesim, Mercy's Hospital. I worked there for 3 months before I relocated to the United States, basically just to pursue further career development. So currently, I'm a general surgery resident in Brooklyn, New York. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you. So please tell us a bit about this, the road to becoming a medical doctor. What was the expectation and, of course, the preparation towards that? How did you even come to that conclusion or that decision in the first place? Just walk us through a little bit.
It's quite tough. So I think back home in Ghana, it's all about what do you want to do? Is it about passion? I think that there's really not much mentorship regards to what you really want to pursue in future. So right from SHS or secondary school, when you have these grades, the high grades, excellent scores and everything, the first impression that clicks is that as a science student, let me go for medicine, or maybe go for pharmacy. So I think I fell into that category let me go. But I didn't have any professional mentorship growing up. And another thing was I really wanted to fulfill my mom's dream. Was my mom. I have a senior brother who was named after a renowned doctor, but unfortunately she couldn't become a doctor. So my mom was already being called Dr. Mami, like mother of a doctor. So even before I was born, I was like, okay, why don't I fulfill that dream for my mom? But I said that, as I said, we don't really have that mentorship. When you go to the various senior high schools and you ask them, what do you want to do? Ask all the science students, what do you want to do? I think you will get 90% of them saying that I want to become a medical doctor. And basically, I think what influenced that is job security. They think that being in the medical field, you are sure that you get a job. So others too also goes in because of probably they have a relative who is already a medical doctor, and they want to aspire, like pursue or follow up that footstep of that particular relative. But I think there should be an emphasis or that these are places that we have to look after, and also make sure that these students are having adequate mentorship with regards to career choices in the near future. It's a serious thing that we have to take consideration into that. Yeah. But you all know, we know that after medical school, WASI exams, that you apply to, what is it? You apply to medical school. So that's the same route that I followed. Yeah.
That's right. So, I mean, you keep, highlighting mentorship and all that. Who should be responsible for that? What do you think? Where should that start from? Because, of course, I mean, this is well known to everyone. Where should we start from in the first place?
I think you should start, I would say you should start in the senior high school. I think and at that level, they are a bit mature to understand what lies ahead of them, and they will know what is coming. Are you really going for the passion, or are you really going for the money, or are you really going for the lifestyle? So all these things should be relate to these people, explain further. Hey, this is what lies ahead of you as a doctor. I remember in 2018, I went back to my alma mater, Agri Memorial Senior High School. That's where I studied general science. And I had an opportunity to talk to some few students during the homecoming. I told them that, hey, if you really want to go into medicine because of money, then I think you have to change your mind. And you could see the disappointment on the faces of these students. So, I mean, in Ghana, people think that there's money in medicine, but you and I know other way around. Yeah, so basically, I think you should start early. The exposure should be early, and that will help them to decide what they want to do. And you get people, I think with that, you get people who really have the passion to pursue medicine and other health related programs.
Yeah. I remember, I think in secondary school as well, now if my memory serves me right, we had career or guidance and counseling. From what you're saying, it's more like the benevolence of all students who decide to return to the alma mater to basically educate the student. But don't you think this should be more structured? It should be within the curriculum to guide students, because like you said, almost all science, most of them will, first of all, at first instance, think of or tell you that they want to pursue medicine. But there are other opportunities they could have pursued and all that. So do you think that beyond all students returning to the alma mater, do you think there should be a more structured, attempt to put that in the curriculum?
I totally agree with that. It should be well structured. I can relate. I have a junior brother here. When he moved to the States, he started junior high school here. He already had a mentor in junior high school, and they used to talk about his career development, what he wants to pursue. So my dad wanted my brother to become a pharmacist, but he said, no, I don't want to be a pharmacist. I want to be an engineer. So it was a whole problem in the family. Then I was in Ghana. My dad called me. I have to talk to my brother that he wants him to become a pharmacist, but he's being reluctant to that. I talked to my brother, and listening to him, I realized that, the way he's putting up his submissions is all because of he had a mentor. because he talked to his mentor, explained to him what he likes, what he wants to pursue, and he was in line with his goals. So why not? So I supported him, and now he's almost done with his civil engineering course. So I
Amazing.
think it should be started early, well-structured one, to get people assigned to you as a mentor, talk to you. Um, and it's also provide an avenue to support these students.
Mm,
Because we all know that studying is not easy.
that's
The
right.
emotional breakdown and everything. When you fail an exams, who are you going to talk to? Your friend,
Mm,
your mother, your father, who? So if you have a mentor, you call upon that person. Hey, this is what happened. What do you think I should do next? So these
mm.
are the things that I think we are lacking in our educational system compared to the US and other European countries. Yeah.
Amazing. Talking about educational system, of course, you've not gone through the medical training itself in US, but of course, with your current position and perhaps your engagement with students and all that, are you able to infer any sort of differences with respect to, or and even similarities with respect to the approaches of teaching in medical school back in Ghana and where you are in the US at the moment? Do you think their approach to teaching in the medical school is the same, or you think they are doing much better? What have you learned and what can we do to improve our system? And I'm saying this because I chanced on one research paper. I've forgotten, I could have pulled it up and showed it here. It said that it was a study conducted amongst KNUST medical students, and largely they realized that they learn by rote, and so I'm just asking, what do you think about the learning approaches back in the US and then here in Ghana?
Yes. As you said, I never got the opportunity to train here.
Mm,
And in my position, we have various medical students rotating in the hospital from different aspects of the country. Others are from the Caribbeans coming in. And one thing that stands out is one, they are very confident when they are speaking. In their submission, no matter whether they are wrong or not, they are very confident.
okay.
And when I compared them to myself, I felt like our training makes us more timid. We have problem with expressing ourselves, even if we are right.
Mm,
We are kind of timid a bit. And
mm,
secondly, we have already spoken about it, the mentorship. So these students already knew what they want before they even start their residency training. But mind you, their medical structure is totally different from ours. You are supposed to have a first degree in any program of your choice. We have people with first degree in physics, economics, um, others in neuroscience and everything. And after that, you have to write the MCAT and then apply to the medical school. So for someone to take up all these responsibilities of finishing the first degree, writing the MCATs and going forward, this person have already, spoken to somebody who have, walked him or her through this career pathway, what to
mm.
expect. So they already know. And it's also very obvious with the personal statement that, we write and what they also write.
Mm,
Because they are already aware of what to expect in the
okay.
coming future. And aside that, they have extra curriculum activities. They are
Okay.
being taught what to do aside just the academics.
Mm,
They are being taught that if you go on a lot of volunteer programs, it has a better reflection on your CV.
mm,
These students travel all the way to other less privileged countries just to volunteer, so that it will reflect on their CV that they travel to this country
mm.
to do this particular program. And
Okay.
it serves as a positive impact when it comes to applying for residency with these little things that they do.
Mm,
Also, they are also being taught how to write how to do research,
okay.
which we are also lacking. Apart from my com health research project that I did, I didn't have any research on my CV until I relocated to the US. And
I've always said that
so these are
research
all the
is
things.
something that is grossly missing in
Exactly.
medical school in Ghana. So I completely agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah. So these are the little things that I've realized.
Mm,
I've observed from them. They can boldly look into your face, speak, even though they are wrong, but they are saying something. And
absolutely.
the people like being showman, like they have to show. They exhibit themselves. We are taught that the more you show you are trying to be like you are too knowing on those kind of things. Yeah, you have to be submissive. So when your senior is talking, you keep quiet and just listen. But it's the other way around here.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Kofi. I think the issue of lack of confidence, it looks more like it is more cultural and well embedded within our system because it cuts across almost every sphere of our training back home. And so, in most cases, is when we travel, then we get to know that what we usually call humility in some situations is actually lack of confidence because we know the right thing, we cannot express ourselves. It's terrible. So it's something we need to make a conscious effort to work on as part of our educational system as a nation. So thank you very much. You did mention that, of course, in Ghana, you need to go to medical school for 6 years and in some circumstances, 7 years elsewhere. And afterwards, you do 2 years of housemanship before you can apply for jobs. Already 8 or 9 years gone. I mean, you did mention that for someone to train as a doctor in the US, we should have completed first degree. Afterwards, how many years will you be in medical school? What happens? Do you do house job? Do you do attachment? Anything before we even start working? We're just trying to compare the years and whether there's something we can learn from this. And if there's somebody considering sponsoring a family member to go to medical school in the US, at least they'll be well informed about this.
Yeah. So let me just make a reference to our medical training. You know, we follow the British training system. So right from senior high school, then you go to medical school, which is 6 or 7 years, depending on which facility that you train. Then after that, you come out as a house officer, where you work for 2 years. So basically, house officer is working under the supervision of the various attendings, you know. Then after that, you qualify to get your certification from the Medicine and Dental Council as a medical officer. In the United States, you have to first get. So United States and Canada have the same structure. You have to get a first degree first. It doesn't matter which first degree that you get. After that, you have to write the MCAT exams. That's the medical. They have this entrance exam that they write. After that, you use that MCAT results to apply for medical school. So the problem is that it's very competitive. Just like in our country, Ghana, medical school entrance getting into the medical school is very competitive. So even some of the American students or graduates, they go into the Caribbeans to study to study their medicine, then come back.
Okay.
So 4 years of medicine. 4 years after that 4 years of medicine, you have to apply for residency. You can only practice in this country after you have completed your residency training in an accredited program. So the program should be accredited by the ACGME, which is an accreditation council for graduate medical education. So if you do residency training in any facility that is not accredited by ACGME, you can't practice. So it should be accredited by ACGME.
Okay.
So basically, we are looking for first degree 4 years, then medical school 4 years. Then depending on which specialty that you go into, you spend another 3 to 7 years.
Okay.
After that, when you pass your respective board exams, that's when you can practice in this country. So it's a long journey. Yeah.
Interesting. So let's explore what you've said so far. So first of all, I want to ask, can someone, you did mention that you need to complete 4 years. Does it matter whether your first degree is a science-based or non-science-based program? It
doesn't matter. Yeah.
Right.
I know of a friend, a US graduate I met here, who graduated the first degree in economics. So it doesn't really matter. Yeah.
Okay. And doesn't necessarily matter whether you are based in America or outside. What I mean is that can you apply as an overseas applicant?
Yes. So we have two categories of applicants. We have the international medical graduates, and we have the American graduates. So no matter whether you are an American citizen or not, once you completed or you graduated medical school outside the United States, even in Canada, which they share border with, you are considered as an international medical graduate. So those are the two extremes of the applicants. But in all of them, there are certain requirements that you have to meet before you can even apply for the residency. And I think we can go into that on subsequent.
No, so what I mean is that assuming someone completed, let's say, nursing in Ghana, can the person apply after the 4 years, apply to the medical school in the US as an
Yes,
overseas applicant? You can,
yes,
isn't it?
you can apply for it. So you can
Okay.
apply for it if you meet the requirements there. If you meet the MCAT cutoff, which is very very competitive, you can apply for it. Others also go into the Caribbean, as I stated earlier on. So if you are in Ghana, you are done with nursing, you are done with agric, whatever first degree that you are done with, you can apply to the Caribbean schools, then go for medical school. And
Okay.
if that's your aim is to get into the US medical training system, then you have to follow the pathway that has been created. Yeah.
All right. And of course, you did mention that once you complete, for example, in Ghana, after housemanship, you become a medical officer, then you do residency, isn't it? And then specialty and all that. There you go.
Yes.
But you did mention that in the US, after medical school, you don't practice straight away like a medical officer in Ghana. You
Yes.
need to do a residency to specialize where you want to practice. Is that the case?
Exactly. So
Okay.
here you can only practice after you are done with residency. We don't have what we call in Ghana as a general practitioner,
Okay.
like a medical officer. Even here, if you want to be a general practitioner, you have to still finish your residency training. So family medicine here is more like a general practitioner in Ghana, like a medical officer in Ghana. But you
Okay.
still have to be done with your residency training
Mm,
before you can practice here.
okay. Thank you very much. Viewers, we are speaking to Dr. Kofi Atta Appiafa Obeng, who is, a general surgery resident in the United States of America. He trained in Ghana as a medical doctor, and he's been sharing his journey with us. We're trying to explore some of the similarities and differences between the training of medical doctors in Ghana and in the US, so that in case you want to move or you know someone who wants to pursue that option elsewhere, at least you'll be well informed. And this is the Discovery Show TDS TV. Here we say yearn to learn. The whole idea is to explore people's life, get to know where they are, so that those of us who want to pursue that path can also do the same and do it better. So thank you very much. Please subscribe to our channel here on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The name is The Discovery Show TDS TV. And please send in your questions, your comments. We are definitely going to ask Dr. Appiafa, and he will try to respond as much as possible. So there's a publication from enjoyonline.com on 2nd September 2022, which is just about 2 weeks ago. Basically, it says more than 1,000 doctors compelled to stay home after completing housemanship. So after your 6-7 years of medical school and after the 2 years of housemanship, over 1,000 of your kind are staying home in Ghana unemployed. How did we get here? What's the solution to that? Because of course, as someone from a health background, I'm very much aware that it's not like we have excess of medical doctors. How did we get here? How did we get out of this?
Okay, so I followed up on that article. I saw it, but I think to the best of my knowledge, these doctors were waiting for what is called financial clearance.
Okay.
So, which has been the routine process that we all follow. So
Mm.
after housemanship, you are expected to stay home for about 6 to 8 months if you are
Mm.
lucky. Some go as long as to maybe almost a year. I remember very well that in 20, I think somewhere 2016, 2017, there were a group of house medical officers who stayed home for almost a year
Mm.
before they got their financial clearance. So from my checks, I realized that these two, colleagues of mine were also waiting for their financial clearance, and I think recently they have been cleared to work. But looking forward, I think it's something that is about to happen. A time will come where the government will not be able to employ everybody, looking at the financial crisis that we are facing now. And
Mm.
I mean, I would say that the other corporate organizations should rather think of setting up private facilities to employ these doctors too. I don't think government will be able to handle all these doctors, even though we don't have much, and we don't look forward to lose these doctors to other countries. So something that they have to also reconsider. Yeah.
Mm. Interesting. Of course, unemployment is endemic in Ghana and most parts of Africa, I must say. But to think about the fact that, I knew that some of the reasons why people went into the health related programs is that once you complete, employment is ready for you. And do you think that gets me to my next question? Do you think we are doing our country any good, especially as policymakers, to think that people complete and they have to stay home, especially very critical healthcare professionals, stay home for close to a year before they get ethical clearance, or financial clearance, whilst other countries are busily recruiting them? In the end, promoting exodus of medical professionals. Don't you think we are weakening our healthcare system? Do you think we have to perhaps have a broader conversation around this? Yes, it's true, government cannot recruit them, but how do we put in place measures, policies to ensure that these people are readily recruited so that we don't lose them to the other countries? What do you think about this?
I think that there's more to say about it. There's, it doesn't really, how should I even put it? There's a lot to talk about this. As you said, policies should be set up. One thing I would say is that here, before every graduation year or graduating year, the ACGME knows the number of residents that are about to graduate, and they have already set up um, um, other measures to help or incorporate these people into the healthcare system. So even before you graduate, you get an offer from various hospitals whether you want to practice in their facility or not, and it's up to you for you to decline. Because not all of us will just right away go into practice. Some also want to pursue subspecialty fellowships and all that kind of thing. So that's one thing that I think the MDC should be looking at. The number of students or medical doctors that they anticipate to graduate from the medical school. Is the Ministry of Health ready to employ all these people? How much funds do we have? And also, how do we appropriate our funds as a nation to this healthcare sector? So all these things are supposed to be done before these students are they are done with school, so that they don't come out feeling so hopeless that I went to medical school to help my country, and here I am that I'm not having any facility to work with. And everybody, once you are done with medical school, the society looks at you in a different way. So the prestige that comes with it. This is a doctor. You are supposed to do this. You are supposed to have that. I remember when I was in Ghana for 2 years, I didn't have a car, and anytime I go to church, there's one person who always tells me that when are you buying your car? So that's how the society sees it.
The social pressure itself is another thing.
Yes. So imagine being in a house not being posted. So all this pressure on you. But I think the MDC, Ministry of Health, can do better, anticipating how many students are coming out of school or how many doctors are going to finish their house job, and what's the next move for these people. Then I don't think this is the only way to minimize the exodus of doctors, because there are different reasons why people move out of the country. But at least this is also one point that we have to look into. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Meet Mr. X, an unhappy businessman who has been waiting for days for his goods to be delivered. Unlike Mr. X, business is booming for Mr. K because of his efficient partnership with Hembeck 60 Hub, also known as HB 60 Hub. We are an online platform that sources for goods from across the globe. We only pull high quality standard products from anywhere in the world and ship them right to your doorstep. Be it watches, clothes, bags, and many others. Do get in touch by contacting us on www.henbeckagency.myshopify.com, or you can call us on +233 546 022 952 or hembektravels@gmail.com. Hembeck 60, truly a world of endless possibilities.
Thank you very much. So if you want to buy anything, footwears, clothes, watches, bags, and books, you actually want to source them from the best of companies and all that, and you want to ship them to any part of the world, please contact Henbeck 60 Hub. Henbeck is spelled HENBCEK 60 Hub. They will source for the best of books, watches, bags, footwears, and they will ship them to you at your doorsteps. It's truly a world of endless possibilities. You can contact them on +233 546 022 952 or henbecktravels@gmail.com. Or you can just send them a Facebook Messenger and a message on Facebook Messenger, and they'll respond to you appropriately. We've been speaking to Dr. Kofi Atta Appiafa Obeng, who is, a Ghanaian-trained medical doctor, currently a surgery resident, general surgery resident in the United States of America, and he's been sharing his journey with us so far. We just touched on, exodus of medical professionals. So now, Dr. Appiafa, we really want you to take us through, assuming someone who has just completed school as a medical doctor or even has practiced for some time, but want to really change environment based on the multiple reasons for which people migrate and all that. Can you take us through the process of migrating to the US as a medical doctor? How do you start? Where do you start from in the first place? Take about 10 minutes to enlighten us in detail on this.
All right. So we have the ECFMG, which is Educational Commission for Foreign Medical Graduates. So they organized or they have put up a structure that helps to incorporate international medical graduates from the various countries if you want to pursue further career in the United States. So they are the ones. You have to first meet the requirements for ECFMG certification, and I'll go through them. One, you have to get what is called ECFMG or USMLE ID. So you apply for that. And all these are, when you go to ecfmg.org, the application portal is there where you can apply. So you get the ID first. And with this ID, you can start the whole process. One, you have to be certification of identification. So meaning that they want to really know that you are really Dr. Appiafa Obeng who is applying. And genuinely you went to this medical school. So you have to do all this background check. So one, you have to have a valid national ID. In the US, you can use your if you have a green card or you have a driver's license, you can use that. But in Ghana, you have to use your passport. Until recently, that the Ghana ID came. I don't know whether the Ghana card qualifies now, but that will be a further a later discussion. So they confirm that indeed you are the person, and also they have to reach out to your medical school. And one thing is that not all medical schools qualify to apply for the ECFMG certification. So one thing is that if you want to know that your school qualifies for that, you can look into the World Directory of Medical Education. So there we have the listed schools, various schools there. And when you go into details when you read about the details about the school, you will know that whether your school qualifies to apply for ECFMG certification. So these are things that you have to do a background check on that. I'm emphasizing on this because I know of a Ghanaian who went into the Caribbean to study medicine, and in her 4th year of medical training, she realized that her school doesn't qualify to write the USMLE exams. So after 4 years, yes. So that's depressing. So you have to do a background check on that. I did my checks, and I think now we have about 6 or 7 medical institutions in Ghana now. I know University of Legon, they are already certified. KNUST certified, EDS, Cape Coast. There's one, I think Accra College of Medicine, also certified. And I'm not sure about University of Health and Allied Sciences in Hope, because when I read the details about it, I didn't see the certification there. I stand to be corrected. And likewise, Family Health University Medical School in Accra. So I stand to be corrected on that, but I didn't see it in their details on their description.
All right.
After that, after you get that identification and everything sorted out, there are different set of exams that you also have to write. So we have what is called USMLE exams. That's United States Medical Licensing Exams. So there are different steps. We have step 1, step 2, and step 3. So the step 1 is basically about basic knowledge. So USMLE step 1, it tests you on your basic knowledge. Step 2 is divided into 2: the clinical knowledge and the clinical studies, where you do the clinical exams. So the CX exams and the CK exam. Before COVID, we have the CX exams. After COVID, when COVID came in, they stopped running the CX exams because it involves touching patients, and they wanted to limit this COVID pandemic and everything. So what they have now brought into place is what is called the OET exams. So you have to do an occupational exams test. That's OET exams. When you finish the OET exams, they have different pathways that they have laid out, and you have to follow one of the pathways. So if you are already graduates from accredited medical institution outside the country or outside the US, there's a pathway for you. If you are just a medical student in any medical institution outside the US, there's also a pathway for you. If you are somebody who did the CS exams but you failed, there's also a pathway for you. So there are different pathways. Like, I can't really go much. I think there are 6 of them. Yes. You need the step 1, step 2 CK, and the step 2 CS or the OET pathway to get your ECFMHE certification. With that, you can apply for residency. After that, with that prerequisites, you can also be eligible to write the step 3 exams. Okay, so there's a step 3 exam there, but you don't really need the step 3 exam to apply for the residency. Was here in for the American medical graduates, what they do is that they take the exams whilst they are in school. So they take the step 1 in 3rd year of their medical training, and they take the step 2 in their in their 4th year of medical training. So it goes in line with their training, and that's the year that you have to apply for residency. So then you have all these requirements fulfilled to apply for residency. But as an international medical graduate like myself, where most of us, go through the medical training, we finish before we start writing the exams. Those who are knowledgeable about all this process, some of them start whilst they are in school. I couldn't combine that with my medical school exam, so I was like, let me finish this one first, then I'll start my medical USMLE studies. So that's the difference. You can either choose to write the exams whilst you're in school. It all depends on how prepared you are. And one thing about the exams is that there's a pass mark. Before February, I think before February of this year, the step 1 was a numerical score. Now they have changed it to just pass or fail.
Okay.
I did the numerical score. The pass mark was 194, and now later on they moved it to 198, I believe. But if you score 195, 196, 197, 198, 200, you have passed it. But the question is, which school will pick you with that score? Because you are competing with a lot of people. You are competing with American graduates. You are competing with people from China, people from India, Pakistan, a lot of people. So there should be something that makes you stand out. And basically, it should be your score. And I have a friend who always tells me that for me to get 195, 194, then I'd rather fail and rewrite the exams. And the sad thing is that once you pass, you can't rewrite the exams until 7 years later. That was it. So if once you pass when it was numerical score, once you pass the exams, you can't rewrite that particular exam until 7 years later.
So what do you mean is that, assuming you had 198, you've passed all right, but perhaps the people you are competing with had far higher marks.
Yes,
but
exactly.
You want to better your chances, so you want to retake it so that at least you can get over 200. You can't do that until after 7 years.
Yes. So you can't do that. Now the step 1 is pass or fail, so you just have to look for your pass. Now the emphasis have shift from step 1 to step 2. Because step 2 is still numerical score, step 3 is also numerical score. So a lot of people are, I would advise anyone who is trying to pursue this pathway to just spend more time to study for the step 2, because the step 1 is no more a numerical score, it's just pass or fail. Now the step 2.
Before you move on, let's explore this a little bit so that it can be clear. So I'm very familiar with the UK system. Here in the UK, you write IELTS, or others call it IELTS. That is an English language test. Then afterwards, you write PLAB 1. Both IELTS and PLAB 1 can be taken in your country of origin. You don't need to be in the UK. But for PLAB 2, you need to be here to take. It's more like a practical, or more like the OSCE type of exam. Then you take that here in the UK. So you must necessarily be in the UK. You did mention whilst you're talking that for the step 1, it looks more like it used to be numerical, but now it's a pass and fail. And you did mention it's the basics. So what you mean is that it's not necessarily an English test, but it is more like the basics of medicine you've learned or practiced. Is that right?
Exactly. So the step 1 will test your knowledge on anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, public health, pathology. So those basic sciences, that's what the step 1 tests you on. And that was the difficult aspect.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned step 2, and you said OET. I know OET is Occupational English Test. So
Yeah.
Are you trying to say that the step 2 rather becomes an English test, just like we have IELTS as step 1 in the UK?
Yes.
Is that the case?
This came into place after the COVID pandemic. Yes. Before that, there was a clinical examination that you have to have clinical skills examination where you have to have contact with patients. So they will assess you on how you examine patient, how you take history, how you can, correlate history examination to making a clinical diagnosis. So it was all about showmanship. But because of COVID, they changed or substituted this CX exams with the OET exams. So now you have to write OET exams in place of the CX exams. Then there are various pathways that they have outlined if you use the OET exams that you have to apply through. So I know that people that fit in my category, if you write the OET exams, you have to prove that you have a medical license that you are practicing in your country of abode. So you have to get in touch with the Medical and Dental Council to send your licenses to ECFMEG to prove that indeed you have completed medical school and you have maybe 2 or 3 years of practice. So that's what you have to do. And as I stated earlier on, the step 2 is divided into 2: the clinical knowledge aspect and the clinical skills aspect. So the clinical skills is what I just talked about, and the clinical knowledge also talks about, or it's examining you about how you also manage patient. So it's more of in a clinical setting. So if you have a patient coming in, how are you going to manage this patient? So even though it's an MCQ exam, but it's testing your knowledge on your on clinical knowledge. Yeah.
Okay. Amazing. So for the step 3, and you said after the step 2, you don't necessarily need to take step 3 exam before you apply for residency. Is that the case?
Yes. So the step 3 is the final exam of the steps for you to be fulfilled that you have taken all the various board exams. For the American graduates, this is what they do. They take the step 3 exams during their residency training. So some residency programs expect you to write your step 3 within 1 year of starting your residency training. Others within 2 years. For an international medical graduate, one thing that comes with step 3 is that if you're able to get a better score, like a very good score on the step 3, it increases your chances of matching. 2, it also helps you to get there are different visa options. There's an H1B and there's a G1 visa. Which I'm told that I learned that for you to qualify for the H1B visa, which is a working visa, you have to have a step 3 score. So these are the technicalities in it, but it's not mandatory for you to write the step 3 exams. So somebody
Okay.
will say that, do I have to wait for my step 3 exam before I apply for the residency? No, you don't have to wait for it. Once you have the step 1, step 2 CK, and the OET or the step 2 CS, you can apply for the residency. And if
Okay.
you have a chance to write the step 3 exam, fine. But you can only take the step 3 exams in this country. So
Okay.
that's the problem there. So if you want, as an IMG, if you want to take it, then that means probably you have a visa to travel here, then you come and take the exams.
I
Yeah.
guess that's exactly what I was going to ask you. That does that suggest that the first two-step exams you can take them wherever you are? Because what I wasn't so clear about is that you said for the step 2 we have two pathways: clinical skills and clinical knowledge. And once I had the clinical skills, I was thinking it was more like a practical something. So that means you might have to be in the US. Is that the case?
Yes, so before COVID, as I stated on CS, you have to come to the US to take that
Mm,
exams. So
yeah,
the CS and the step 3 exams are were only
in
taken
the
in the US until the COVID came
okay,
in. Now it's just the step 3 exams. So
okay,
I think I always say that that's one of the good thing that I got from COVID, because
okay,
that was the time I think I was a month before I go and I was scheduled to write my CS exams, and COVID came in, and
okay,
it saves a lot of money because you have to travel. There are few selected centers that you have to travel to, and
mm,
it's very difficult to get a spot. So
okay,
because everybody is writing the exams, you have
mm,
to get a hotel where to sleep, and your plane tickets to travel, depending on which state you find yourself in. So when COVID came in and they put a hold on the CS exams, financially, it has helped applicants. So you just need
okay,
to write the OET exams, which you can write it in Ghana. So you can write the one. You can write the step 1 in Ghana. You can write the
mm,
CK exams in Ghana. You can write the OET exams in Ghana or in Nigeria. Yes.
okay. Okay, amazing. Thank you very much for taking the time to explain this. I know it looks a bit convoluted, but at least you've tried your best to make it very simple for all of us. Now, tell us some of the pathways or the career opportunities that exist. You are into general surgery, and of course, there will be internal medicine, there will be other opportunities. What would be your advice to your colleagues or people who are coming up and might want to go, I mean, the same way you've gone, but they are not so sure whether to go into surgery, medicine, or which other opportunities? What will be your advice to them?
Yeah. So, all right. So there are various specialties here. There are numerous.
Okay.
So we have, as we said, general surgery. We have orthopedics. We have plastic surgery, vascular surgery. And when you go to medicine, internal medicine, family medicine, emergency medicine, pediatrics is also there, ENT, anesthesia. So the various specialties that we have in our country, Ghana, man, it's quite different. Some are very, very competitive. So first of all, you have to assess yourself. Well,
Okay.
what you have to assess yourself based on your scores that you had. Um, are you fit to go in this category or not, or this specialty or not? So the surgical fields are very competitive in that they have limited spots in this country, and there is also preference for the American graduates compared to international medical graduates. You have to be exceptionally good, have good scores, your CV on point, and some grace, not some grace. Let me say
Great.
grace. You have to get grace to pursue that pathway. Um, when people who know me very well back in school knew that I was very interested in OBGY. I was really interested in OBGY, but when I started practicing,
People don't understand obstetrics and
oh
gynecology.
yes, obstetrics and gynecology, I was very interested in that. But when I started practicing, it was different for me. The practice and the study wasn't, in alignment, wasn't mutual. I realized that it's different. Then I started developing interest in general surgery, and it was good to have that experience, especially in working in Techman Holy Family. I had exposure to a lot of cases, different cases. So I was very, very adamant to change specialty.
Okay.
So when I moved to the States, I talked to a few people. There are Ghanaians here. Most of them are into internal medicine or medical specialties compared to the surgery. We don't have a lot of surgeons here. But the few that I was able to talk to, they encouraged me that, hey, if as a Ghanaian international medical graduate, about 3 to 4 years post school, you should be looking into internal medicine. And when you look at the statistics, they were right. There was not a lot of people are able to get into surgery.
Okay.
But I told myself it's better to try than none. So I gave it a try, and God being so, um, I don't know, it's by God's grace, and I've gotten it. So it's quite
Wow.
difficult. But I would say, I would, to my listeners, one, you have to assess yourself, your passion. Are you ready to put all those sacrifices for this field or not? Aside that, there are various subspecialties you can go into it. So
Okay.
I decided to just download the recent match, um, this in statistics, which I have it right in front of me. And I don't mind going through with it for
That's
my
right.
listeners to just to look at it. So looking at the recent match, they just ended recent match, which is in 2020. So the number of positions for general surgery was 1,622, and then total number of applicants was 2,400. Total number of applicants for 1,622 positions. And out of this, so there are two different types of international medical graduates. We have those who are US citizens, but they decided to study outside the US. And we have those who are not US citizens, but they also studied outside, which I'm also included. I'm not a US
Yeah.
citizen. So for this position, only 74 US citizens were able to match. The US citizens who are international medical graduates were able to
Okay.
match into this out of 1,622. Match means that you got a spot, and 75 from non-US, which I'm included, also got a spot. So the
The whole
remaining,
of US. The
so
whole
meaning
of
that
US.
the whole of US. So meaning
Wow.
that only 150, I think no, only 149 international
International.
medical graduates got a spot from this 1,622, right?
Wow.
And the remaining is for the American graduates. So it
That's
makes
right.
it very, very difficult. But when you go to the internal medicine, they had 9,800 spots. 9,800 spots, 11,598 people applied for it. And we have 1,054 US international medical graduates getting a spot, and we have 2,431 non-US medical international medical graduates
International.
getting a spot. So when you look at the statistics, you realize that there's more opportunity going into the internal medicine field compared to the surgical discipline. And this is the general surgery. If I'm to go into neurosurgery, vascular surgery, and those kind of things, you'll feel disappointed. So like the statistics doesn't really favor the international medical graduates. So the question is, do you just want to be here for medical training in the US? Then you can go into any specialty that you want. But if you have a particular specialty that you are so glued to that you want to pursue, then you have to rethink about it. Do you want to pursue it? The sacrifices, do you want to go into it or not? So these are the few things that I can really say about that. Yeah.
I mean, exceptional. I mean, I am encouraged by what you've said, and especially, of course, I love numbers, statistics, and all that. From what you've said, I'm very much encouraged that irrespective of your background, you might not necessarily be a doctor, wherever you find yourself, whatever you are doing, and it seems like it's difficult, you cannot get in there. Don't mind those who might say things. I mean, on the face of the paper, they may look like they are right, but if you are passionate and you work hard, trust God and work very hard, you'll obviously get in there. And that is what I would take away from what you've just said, because I mean, these statistics, 75 is just woefully inadequate out of this large number. So be encouraged out there for medical doctors who want to get in there and they are not so sure. They want to go for the numbers and just go into internal medicine or any other, I mean, field which necessarily you are likely to get, but definitely you don't have the passion for it. I think you should be encouraged by Kofi's story and be motivated to work hard. And that is what the Discovery Show is all about. We seek to motivate you through other people's stories and also to let you get exposed to what information they are sharing so you can rise. So thank you, Kofi. But just a quick one. Do you think we have a lot of these, career pathways for medical doctors in Ghana? Do you think we have a lot of specialties that people can go into? How about funding? How easy is it that the system itself allow people to, to grow, or they are stifled? What I'm asking is that in some professions, if as soon as you make it a point that you want to really see career, progression, your superiors will make sure that you don't go. Like they will stifle, they will make things harder for you. Is that the case in medicine,
Um,
especially in Ghana?
yeah, I can't confidently say, but just from few experiences that people have shared with me. And so with medical training in Ghana, after house job, you are a medical officer,
Mm.
and you have to work in a facility for at least 3 years, um, which I think they have to, take a second look at that. But I feel like it prolongs the training. So you have
Okay.
to work in a facility for at least 3 years, write the primaries, then start your residency training. Okay, compared to the United States here, that you have the residency training right from medical to then after residency training you can practice. I know we are trying to get a lot of doctors out there to provide medical services to the population. That's why they prolong that kind of that 3 years gap, but it makes the training more prolonged. And it used to be sponsored by the facility that you are getting your training from.
Okay.
So sometimes they also dictate what you are supposed to do. I know people that they after their 3 years of serving that facility, they weren't released to go and pursue their residency training. In that
Okay.
the facility felt that um, once this particular doctor leaves, there will be inadequate doctors in the facility. So they have to wait for maybe one of or any of their doctors who's in training to complete first, come back, then it's like a replacement before you can also go, right? And others to the other facilities also dictate what specialty that they want to sponsor you for. So
Okay.
probably maybe you are interested in going to pursue general surgery, but they need a pediatrician, or maybe they need an obstetric or and gynecologist. So you
Okay.
have to also have a rethink about it. Okay, the facility is the one sponsoring me,
Mm.
and so if they want OBGY, then let me go into that. So these are a few things that I know about it.
Okay.
Until I think recently now, I think the government is providing the sponsorship, but what the facilities are providing is that they make sure that you get your salary. So
Okay.
that's their form of sponsorship now. Before that, they were providing money for your tuition. They were paying for your tuition. Now the tuition is being taken care of by the government of Ghana, but
Okay.
the government of Ghana doesn't provide the payment of your salaries. The hospital that you are affiliated to have to pay your this thing, your salaries. So, for example, me personally, I work in Fisherman Holy Family Hospital, and for you to go to pursue your residency training, you have to at least work in the facility for 3 years.
Okay.
Then, if you end up having your residency training in maybe Kolebu or Konfanochi is not the one going to pay you. So, Holy Family are the ones supposed to pay me my salaries.
Mm.
So, these are the support that they provide you, and the tuition is being taken care of by the government. But the 3 years gap, is some even go as long as 4 years, depending on which facility you find yourself. I know of a senior who has to defer his residency training because there's one, and there's another colleague who is supposed to also go into training. So having two people or three people go into residency at the same time will render the hospital inadequate in terms of human resources. So this is
Absolutely. And that's why it's quite, surprising that we still have doctors who have to be waiting for a long time to get financial clearance. Whilst we know that At the end of the day, we need these specialties to also be able to offer the specialist care to people because people need them all the time. And that perhaps brings me to my next question. There's a publication by Lawson and Seneja 2022, and it's titled Predictors of Performance of Foreign Trained Medical Doctors in the Registration Examination of the Ghana Medical and Dental Council, a 5-year analysis. I won't bore you and our viewers with a lot of things, but of course, I'm a bit research inclined. So the conclusion is that the performance of Ghanaians who train outside the country in the examination of, conducted by the Medical and Dental Council is usually very low, and it is largely dependent on their performance in the exams is largely dependent on the country of training. What it means is that for some countries, once you train there, you come back to Ghana and write the Medical and Dental Council exam, people perform very poorly. I'll tell you another publication also by Ghanaian Times on 21st of January 2022 that says that Medical and Dental Council works on policy reforms for doctors in Ghana. And I'll read just a tiny bit of that. It says that the Medical and Dental Council is working on a number of policy reforms. And one of them is that they have taken, it says that some of these reforms include the conduct of objective structured clinical examination for foreign doctors in 2022. And it says that this followed observations that the quality of some of the doctors trained outside the country left much to be desired, according to the Registrar of Medical and Dental Council, Dr. Divine N. Bayu Bala. My point is that don't you think this is the right opportunity for us to expand access to medical training in Ghana? In other words, don't you think we should expand the number of people admitted into medical school? Because if you are thinking that a lot of people training in Ghana as medical doctors who ultimately will come back to practice in Ghana anyway, we don't find them, not everybody, but according to this research, some of them struggle to even pass the exams. Don't you think it's time for us to train our own, expand access to medical school, train our own, and of course, improve our healthcare system? What do you think?
So I will take the first part, then I'll go on to the second part of it. So with regards to the pass rate for the exams, I think it makes sense to look into it, the root cause analysis of this. So I don't have, I'm not privileged to say much because I haven't taken any of those exams. But the question is, what is really the problem in this? One, is it because they are not having better training or exposure in these countries or various countries that they are having their training, their medical training? Or is it that the kind of exams that are being given to these colleagues of mine is above the standard? So there should be a standardization of the exams. If you want to standardize things, I think probably we can look forward on maybe setting up exams for both locally trained and foreign trained. I think with that we can make a very objective assessment of these two people. Okay. So that's what I believe. Just like the Usmle exams is made standardized. If you are being trained in America or you are being trained outside America, this is the same exam that you have to write if you want to pursue residency here or if you want to practice in this country. So it's kind of a standardized exam for everybody, but we don't have that in Ghana. So that's one thing they have to also look at. And also the various schools that they train. I think MDC also should also, spend some time, maybe send delegates to these various schools. Look into it. How are they being trained? Are they having adequate exposure when it comes to clinical knowledge, clinical skills? And mind you, these are different region of the world. The disease exposure will be different from what we are privileged to as locally trained medical doctors. Imagine someone coming and the disease that this patient is exposed to is not what are common in this country. I don't remember the last time I talked about malaria in this country. So imagine. So I don't think now I'll be able to manage malaria very well. So these are the things that you have to also look at. Then when we assess all these things, I think we can have an objective discussion about it. Also, talking about the expansion of medical training, I think there's more to put into it. It's not
Okay.
about just putting up those infrastructures, the institutions, and or maybe taking up more students into the medical training, the various medical training. We have to think about what we really want. Are we looking at the quantity or the quality?
Mm.
So these are things that we have to question ourselves about. Are we providing the quality training? And if you are providing quality training to these students, are there more rooms to entertain more students?
Mm.
We back in school, we are crowding over cadavers. One cadaver, then like we have like 13 or 18 people on a cadaver. So like I mean dead body for training purposes. So if you are crowding over dead bodies and you want to take a lot of students, imagine how the quality of training is going to be.
Mm.
Aside that, to what one thing is, do we have um, is these various institutions really fully equipped to provide the training, number of
Okay.
lecturers, TAs? When you go to this, how many teaching hospitals do we have? Because
Mm.
all these medical trainings should be affiliated to a teaching hospital where they will have adequate exposure when it comes to patient relationship. So these are the things that we have to ask ourselves. Have we put up all these structures first?
Mm.
So we have to do this first before we entertain the need to take more students. I think I'm looking forward. This is something that we have to delve more into. Is the
Mm.
Ministry of Health and then Education, the Ministry of Education. They have to also do a lot of work in this. It will
Mm.
be beneficial to the country if we are able to produce good number of doctors, but we should also look at the quality of the doctors that we produce. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Of course, I have my own position on this. And like I said, this is a bit complex, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's an interplay of political or politics within each profession, just as is what's going on amongst the lawyers as well. Expansion,
Exactly.
access, it's a whole lot of things. But like you said, we might have to explore this another time. I'm also conscious of our time that we've just overshot our time, a little bit. But we'll come back to generally if what is the how what about job opportunities as a doctor after going through residency, writing all these exams? How easy is it for you? I know you've given us the statistics, but how easy is it for you to actually get a job? And also, assuming you've not done the residency but you've done the first two exams like you've mentioned, can you do anything medically involving at all, or you don't have the right to do anything, I hope you get what I mean.
Yeah.
And also, how about standard of living in the US? If there's someone who is considering moving to either UK and US, perhaps you've not been to the UK, or no, you've stayed here before, but if you've had friends who are here and you've thought about this or you've learned about that, what do you think in comparison to anything, or even you can just compare it to Ghana, standard of living, working in US, generally, if somebody wants to be there, move family, tell us a bit about living in US and working in US. How is it like?
Okay. So with the career pathway, when you are done with residency training, even before you graduate or write your board exams, there are offers waiting for you,
Mm.
whether you want to join this medical organization or not. So
Okay.
that's one good thing about being an international medical graduate. So people with ideally people with J1 visas, when they come here for medical residency training, you are supposed to go back to your home country, wherever you came from. But
What is the meaning of the G1? Is that a visitor's visa? Is that what exactly?
so it's more of like an exchange visa,
Okay.
and
Okay.
the H1B is a working permit.
Okay.
And so if you are on the G1 visa, ideally you are supposed to go back to your home country for at least 2 years before you can return to the United States to practice. But the US equally is also in need of doctors. So before you write your final board exams, you get the offers, right in front of you that hey, we have this offer for you, but you have to work in the rural part of US for at
Mm.
least 2 years, and that's what we call it waiver.
Okay.
So when you do that, they waive that 2 years of return to your home country for you,
Mm.
and with some also give you the opportunity to get a permanent resident or the green card where you can stay here for it's valid for 10 years and is also we are able to renew that after that 10 years. So that's one pathway of it. Another thing is not all people who write the exams from the American medical graduate perspective, not all of them continue to do residency training right away. Some also go into what is called the MD PhD. It's more of like physician scientist, which I don't think we have that in our home country, Ghana. So basically, what this is about is these people have done their first degree, they have applied to medical school, and during residency training, they apply for the MD PhD, where they spend like they do first 2 years of residency, then they go and spend about 2 to 4 years of research, just research, medical research, clinical research. So that's what they are devoted to. Then they come back to complete their extra 2 years of the residency. So at the end of their residency, they are physician scientists, and they are also done with their residency. The advantage of this, I'm told, is that these people don't really pay school fees. So here, medical training is really, really expensive. But if you are going in that route, your school fees or whatever, they provide you with your scholarship, so you don't really have to pay that kind of fees.
That is a country that is conscious of putting policies in place.
Yes. So there's always different ways of doing things year in, day out. Things change year in, day out, how to manage certain cases based on this research that they are doing. Okay. And others too, when they are done with their medical training, they have their medical degree, they don't go on to also to do residency training. They do what is called consultants. So they get affiliated to NGOs, try to form policies for them. So there will be a consultant of a firm. So they help with policy formation with regards to the health needs of these NGOs and all those kind of things. So that's it for it. But if you are an international medical graduate, you write your first 2 exams, you are ECFMG certified, you are waiting for residency training, you can apply to be a house officer. So equally like the house officer in Ghana. So some countries, some hospitals have provision for house officers. So you work there. In my current program, we have a lot of house officers. I've seen a couple of Nigerians here working as house officers. So one good thing about it is that you are being paid equally as a doctor or as a resident. At the same time, you are having the clinical exposure. It's also equips your CV and prepare you for application for the next cycle. So and this US clinical exposure is also something that saves a lot on your CV. People are paying thousands of dollars to have this US clinical exams and exposure. Yes, so if you are working as a house officer, getting the US clinical exposure, and you are being paid, so it's a plus. So this is there. Others also goes into research. So they are ECFMG certified. They get also clinical research like the MD, PhD physicians get into research facilities or research organizations, and they do that. So these are the things that you can do.
I mean, Atta, I have a lot of questions to ask you, and I'm not in a rush to end this because this is a one-stop shop for a lot of the doctors or people who want to go into this and they are not well informed. So I'm not rushing to end this until I get at least most of the questions I have in mind of. I mean, in all of this, I've not asked about cost. So I'll use nursing as an example. Those who are internationally recruited into the UK, for example, there's a lot of funding for them. Once you are recruited, your employers or potential employers commit to paying your visa, some of the exams you write, IELTS, CBT and all that. They refund all that, or they pay that even for you ahead of time. When you come here and you need to write your second exams, which is the OSCE, they pay for it. They give you accommodation up to some point, about 3 months or 2 months, depending on the facility. I mean, so there's some sort of funding for you. In all of these, if like what you've discussed, if you're from Ghana, Nigeria, whichever country as a doctor, and you are going through all this process, do you get funding from your potential employers, or you need to self-fund all these until you are indeed, employed before you start getting any money at all?
So unfortunately, you have to self-fund. So I don't really know of any recruiting agency that will provide sponsorship for USMLE pathway. Yeah, so you have to fund yourself. So
how
it's
expensive
quite
is that?
it's quite expensive. It's quite
How
expensive.
expensive?
So if I recall very well, registering for the exams, the fees involved. So for one application of the certification, the ECFME certification just itself, identify you as who you are, making sure that the medical school that you claim that you attended is genuine and also listed among the schools that are allowed to participate in ECFMAG. You pay about $160 for that, for those registration. Then after that, step one exams cost about $985. If you are writing it in the US. If you are writing it in outside the US, there's additional charges, like about $100 additional charges. So you end up maybe paying $1,995 or something like that, or $1,000.
Okay.
So additional charges for writing it outside the US. The CK exams is also about $985 for that. Okay, and when the CS, before that, the CS was somewhere around 1,000 something. I've forgotten the exact amount for the CX exam. It was around thousands of $1,000. But now the CS is no more. So the OET exams is there. The OET exams, I think it's about $400 for the OET exams. And after you finish writing the OET exams, that pathway that they have created for you to use that OET exams, you have to pay for it. And that is also about almost 900 to 1,000 exams. So we ended up spending almost like 1,400 just for using the OET pathway. So all these are cost involving. But the good thing is, if you match into a residency program, frankly speaking and genuinely speaking, you will get this money back. Yes.
Okay.
So if you get into a residency program, I won't exaggerate, but within a year you get all this money, because you are giving stipends. So like all these stipends that you get, you get something from it. So I think it's worth going for it if you're interested in that.
Okay. No, that sounds encouraging, isn't it?
Yeah.
Amazing. So let me just ask you one or two things, and then, or even just one, so that at least we can wrap up in about 2 minutes. Just tell us a little bit about the US healthcare system and also healthcare finance. And I'm talking about insurance policy and healthcare system itself. If you can just use about a minute to talk about that, and just pitch it against that of the Ghanaian system, especially for those who have not had opportunity of traveling outside before. And let's see how it works and what can we learn from that to improve our system. What do you think?
So the US health system is really expensive. To be on the truthful aspect of it, it's really expensive when you want to seek for health needs. And because of that, we have various insurance. So you have to get an insurance just to limit the cost of all these services that you seek for. So there's a federal or a government insurance that they provide to the citizen. There are two parts of it. There's one called the Medicaid, and there's one called the Medicare. So the Medicare is for elderly people 65 years and above, or someone less than 65 who is disabled, or someone with chronic kidney disease. You qualify for this Medicare. Basically, people with Medicare have this opportunity. Those who are less than 65 years, they qualify for that. Medicaid is for the people with low income. So when I moved here, I was on Medicaid. To the United States, I was Medicaid because then I wasn't really working, and it's also those who automatically qualified is pregnant women and children. They also qualified for the Medicaid.
Okay.
Aside that, they are private insurance, so you can purchase your own insurance, or you can get insurance through the company that you are working for. Currently, I have my insurance from my hospital. So before I started my residency, I was on Medicaid because of low social income. Now I have my insurance from my hospital who is providing it. So these are the various insurance. But aside that, one thing I've noticed is that because of this world robust health insurance, people get the quality of care that they want compared to my home country, Ghana. It's a problem. We know of the national health insurance, which is not really, that well equipped. There are a lot of challenges with that. It doesn't cover a lot of things. It's in this country that I realized that getting dialysis is like purchasing paracetamol in Ghana.
Wow.
It's readily available. Like, I was so surprised. People just trooping in and out to get dialysis.
Okay.
And all these are covered under the Medicare because you have chronic kidney disease. You don't pay a dime for it. But in Ghana, it's a problem. It's a problem to get dialysis, even with your own money. Availability of it. How many people can afford it? So these are the differences in it. And my experience in Ghana is that because of these financial constraints, job satisfaction was a problem because you see a patient, you assess the patient after all your examination, you arrive at a diagnosis, and what is left is providing the treatment, and it becomes a challenge because the patient cannot afford it. And we have seen people have to, you have to delay treatment because they can't afford it. You have to wait for a relative. And even when you're in the pediatric department, you have to use your own money to buy medication for patient. But that's not it here. Once you enter the hospital, nobody questions you about how are you going to provide fund for your medical treatment. Nobody questions you about it. We do all that we are supposed to do, treat everybody equally. Then after that, the hospital have to deal with how to get the money. So if you have insurance, there are people who are paid to go on to recruit all this money from the various insurance companies. If you don't have insurance, obviously you will go into the government's pocket. So the government has to provide the support. So these are the differences. Yeah. So we don't question people. We don't question people. There are people. A lot of homeless people, they will come into the hospital with a whole lot of diseases that requires agent management, and this quality of treatment that we provide to them will sadden you to know that if you are in Ghana or different part of the country, with your own money you won't get it because it's not readily available. So that's the difference. Yeah.
Okay. Amazing. Very final thing. Let's assume there's someone watching us who is in secondary school or even has completed but intending to go into medical school. Very briefly, what would be your advice to the person? Secondly, someone who has also completed medical school and is currently working as a medical doctor in any of the low and middle income countries. What would be your advice to the person? And thirdly, another doctor who has migrated to the US and is yet to take any of these exams, but very, very indecisive at the moment. What would be your advice to such a person? Very briefly.
So high school, I think first of all, you have to go for your passion. Do you really want to pursue medicine or not? So you have to assess yourself what you really want, because when the storms comes, it all goes down to your passion, whether you can stand these storms. Because the medical pathway is not easy. You have a lot of challenges, the depression, the depression that comes with it, the psychological trauma and everything. So you have to look into this, and we should make it known to these people that the medical field is not that lucrative that we portray it to be. So if you are just going in because of money, then I think you have to have a second or rethink about it. For somebody who is in Ghana, as a colleague of mine, you are done with medical training and you want to come to the US. So you have to ask yourself what the main motive behind it. So even though things are different here, but there are certain similarities that we share with our colleagues back home in Ghana. We work extra hours. I mean, I hardly get time for myself and my family. And the burnout is also very real. Wherever you go, there is physician burnouts. People are committing suicide and everything. But you have to ask yourself, what's the motive that you are moving outside the country? Is it for the money? As I said, everybody has a reason to move out of the country. I came here purposely because of my family. I have a family here, so
Okay.
so you have to rethink about that. So because you always have these hindrances. So it's not like it's better in the US compared to the Ghana Ghana. So you have to think about that one. But if you think I've talked to colleagues that they think that they haven't been able to optimize their full potential back home, which may sound true. It's true. But when you come here, there are various opportunities. There are things that you get exposed to, and you ask yourself, "Wow!" So there's things like this here, and this makes your medical practice very smooth. You get your satisfaction. Things are done easily for you. You get the various diagnostic machineries just to speed up your work. So if you are looking on to improve yourself, then I think it's okay. But at the long run, do you have plans of going back home to help or not? That's also there. And if you are in US now, thinking of writing it, first of all, you ask yourself, what made you go to medical school in the first place? So you have spent 6 years in medical school, 2 years house job, and you're in the US and you are just here, you don't want to pursue your dream job. So why are you here? If you don't have any plans of pursuing medicine again, then I advise that you probably have to go back home and start working there. Unless maybe you have a different agenda. There are people who came here, decided to go into public health. So they have done an MPH, and they are now into academia. So that is also another aspect of the whole
Pathway.
training. Not all of us will end up in the clinical setting. There are people who want to go into academia. So that option is also there. But for you to be in the US after all these years of medical training and not doing anything related to medicine I mean, there are people who have ended up doing things not related to medicine at all. I don't want to mention things, but I know people who are here, they are working in McDonald's, and when you start doing those things, the money is enticing. So yeah,
Absolutely.
the money that you get will be enticing because someone working in McDonald's, the amount that he's being paid, when you compare to a doctor in Ghana, you think that, oh, I'm even making money better than a doctor in Ghana. But the question is, why in the first place? Why did you go to medical school in the first place? Just to end up in McDonald's? No. So these are the questions that you have to ask yourself. So I think you should always, dream big, look forward to improve yourself day in, day out. Yeah.
Amazing. Tugbe Osadifo says educative and informative. Kwachiwa says very educative, fabulous dog. Eunice Ousu Ansa says very educative. Can one still apply for GEMP, that's graduate entry into medical program in Ghana, and later have a transfer to a medical school in the US? That's a question for you.
Okay, so graduate entry medical. So that means the person is already done with medical school, right?
No, in Legon, they have, after you are done with your BSc, you can go for medical school for 4 years. And so the
Okay.
person is asking, whilst you are there, can you transfer that into a medical school in the US?
That I'm not really sure about it. I know for you to get entrance into medical school here, you should have passed the MCAT exams. So that's also a prerequisite for you to get access into medical school. So, and it even brought my attention to one thing. For you, it's the same thing. If you want to practice here, no matter your pedigree, if you are a consultant or whatever, who you are in Ghana or any part of the world, if you want to practice here, you still have to do the residency training. So we may have people who are consultants already they are already specialized. In my current program, I have my chief resident was a transplant surgeon. He was a transplant surgeon in Pakistan, and came over here. Have to restart the whole residency training. And I know of somebody who was also in training as a vascular surgeon. Have to restart everything here. I know someone who was a general surgeon already. Came here, have to restart everything. So no matter what pedigree you have, whether you are already a consultant or you are already in a residency training, if you want to pursue residency here or you want to practice in this country, you have to restart all over again. Yeah.
Amazing. Your final words, Kofi?
Um, First of all, I'll say thank you to you and the viewers. I think it's a great opportunity. What I would tell my viewers is that just dream big, go for what you want. You know, the pathway to success is not easy, and there's not a single route to success. There are different ways to achieve your goal. Just put God first and work hard. That's what I would say.
Thank you very much. We are very proud of you, Kofi. I mean, your story is very inspiring. And of course, I'm sure there are a lot of your mates who be very, enthused about what you've been able to achieve for yourself. And of course, I'm glad you did mention that grace has played a key role. So, we thank God for your life. We pray that you strive harder and to get to any limit you plan to get to. We wish you all the very best, and we hope that your story, the things you shared, at least will enlighten someone who wants to go the same path, or someone who is really struggling to make a decision about any of these things that you've spoken about. So we are genuinely appreciative of your time. We don't take it for granted, especially we know you are very busy and you don't have time here and there, but you still managed to be here for over 1.5 hours. And so thank you very much, Dr. Kofi Atta Appiafa Obeng. He trained in Ghana as a medical, doctor, and I knew him all the way from Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. And currently, he's actually a general surgeon or general surgery resident in Brooklyn, New York, United States of America. Thank you very much, Kofi, and we are grateful. On behalf of myself, Precious Adadidudu, and the producer James Kwabena Opon, and of course with viewers as well, we say a very big thank you to you, and have a lovely evening in the US, and we hope to speak to you some other time. God bless you.
God bless you too. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Thanks.
Life is a journey and sometimes can be a lonely road. When friends and loved ones forsake you, all you got to do is to be bold. I knew it years ago that those who undermine me had their minds undermined, but I never mind. They should keep on undermining, because I'm a real good, I must undergo mining. Talking of mining, it leads to discovery. We mine to discover, we learn to discover, we observe to discover. Friends can uncover you at the same time discover you. But I don't want to discover you, I would rather discover more, so I go on the internet and I listen to words of wisdom and intellect. Availability of information, interviews of great men and women all over the diaspora and all nations. Creativity at its best, dexterity of research, no need to go through any formal education. I introduce you to the Discovery Show. Let your friends and your family know the struggles before they blow, their highs and their lows. Pay attention to this show, it will make you feel at ease. The Discovery Show on YouTube got the steez. Now Perry, the presenter.